Well, if you're waiting for yet another scintillating guest to join us on this program and save it from mediocrity, you'll have to wait another day.
What?
It's the Bob and Jon podcast with yours truly and John Shannon, and we have no guest today.
Well, I just thought you wanted to chat. You
didn't have to say that twice. I heard you the first time. You have a habit of doing that. Do you know that? Do you realize you do that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
You know the way you are? Don't be that way.
Well, hold on. Pot calling kettle black.
Well, I'd rather be a pot than a kettle.
That's a good question, Bob. Maybe we should put that out on Twitter. Would you rather be a pot or a kettle?
Well, you can make more money with pots than you can with kettle.
Well, I'll tell you what, the new kettles are pretty fancy, though. So pretty fancy.
Do you have a kettle?
Indeed.
Is it an electric kettle or a put it on the stove kettle?
Oh no, electric kettle.
Yeah, that's what I got to.
This is how bad people.
That's how bad this show is. Exactly. We're talking about kettles.
Yeah.
All right, we got a whole bunch of stuff to throw around. I don't know whether any of it's going to stick it to the wall, but I'll throw some things out, and we'll see if you say something stupid enough to get me mad and engage me in the conversation. Because
the last 50 minutes.
Well, the last thing I want to do is just listen to you babble incessantly for the next.
And we know you're going to get mad. We know.
Well, there's a very good chance, but it's not going to happen because I'm generally mad. It's going to happen because you're going to say something stupid, and that's going to make me mad, and then off we go. Which is usually
it's going to happen because you're generally mad.
No, I'm not.
Oh yeah, Bob, trust me.
I'm not generally mad.
What are you
today? Generally? I'm mad, but generally I'm not mad. And 5 minutes after we finish this nonsense, I'll be perfectly happy. We'll commence in but a couple of minutes, or maybe less, depending upon the commercial load. But we'll be back after these messages. McCowan and Shannon with you. No guest today. Producer is taking the day off, apparently.
Yes.
I have no particular order in which I wish to discuss things. But I think we should probably put the Super Bowl to sleep. We talked about it yesterday. It's now 2 days after the Super Bowl. I don't have anything more to say about it. Do you?
No, I don't think so. It really, in many ways, with the Rams winning at home, it became a local story, and I'm not sure there was very much hangover from it. It's the NFL season's done. It's hard to think that. It was a good game, and you mentioned it yesterday. What a great run it was of 7 great playoff games. But it in many ways, how long ago now does the Buffalo Kansas City game feel? How long ago does the Tampa Rams game feel? They were the ultimate. They were the ultimate games.
Well, I would say the Bills Kansas City game was the game. That was the best game of the whole playoffs. Every other game was close and came down to the final few seconds, including the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think this Super Bowl will be quickly forgotten. And because I did not think it was a particularly exciting or eventful game. It was close. It wound up the best part of the game was the last drive. With Cooper Kupp kind of taken over, becoming a kind of a one-man show, and proving why he is as good as he is. And I confess, I'd only seen the Rams, I think, once maybe during the regular season, and then in the watched all the playoff games. Boy, this guy is really good, really good.
Yeah,
and
it speaks to one thing, Bob. Is like he went to Eastern Washington. And it speaks to how much talent there is in college football at every level. And
Well,
it's
I
not
think
just the big five teams. It's and there's a lot of kids from Alabama and LSU, like Joe Burrow was from, but there's always one of those guys that comes out of Eastern Washington.
Yeah.
That makes a difference.
Well, two things there. Number one, I really don't know enough about his history, but I assume he did not have an opportunity to go to a major college school, which means he wasn't considered that good when he came out of high school.
Right.
Because players aren't missed these days by college recruiters or by pro recruiters, for that matter. I mean, sometimes you make mistakes, but you don't usually miss on a guy. But then to get the opportunity out of Eastern Washington, is that what it was?
Yeah, Eastern Washington. In fact, he didn't even say Eastern Washington when how they do the introductions.
Yeah.
He said Iwu. So he was doing it for the home folk. Eastern Washington, a little town in Washington State called Cheney, and he's from Yakima, Washington. So
that explains maybe why he went there. Maybe he had opportunities at bigger schools, but I don't think he had an opportunity at like a Pac-10 school, Pac-12, Pac-15, however many they have in that conference now. It's like the Big Ten.
Yeah, I know. But hey, by the way, if you're the head coach at, although they've changed since he played college football, if you're the head coach at Washington and you're the head coach at Washington State, aren't you talking to your recruiters and saying, how did we miss this guy?
Well, maybe, but I mean, again, this is two dum-dums who didn't see this, know anything about this kid till he got to the National Football League.
That's right.
Maybe he wasn't that good. Maybe he's a late bloomer. Maybe maybe his high school quarterback was crap, couldn't throw the ball. Who knows?
The one thing, he's a late bloomer size-wise, Bob. That's the one thing that everybody has said, because it's amazing.
That could be another factor. Yeah,
it's amazing how many times you listen to the Rams broadcasts and people always talk about he's deceivingly large, how big he is for his position. So that and then you heard the stories that he was undersized as he went to Eastern Washington.
Well, he's the real deal. He impressed me, boy, I'll tell you.
By the way, trivia question.
All right.
Boise State, but yeah, just my admiration. Boise State. Do you know what color the turf is at Boise State?
Blue.
Yeah. You know what color the turf is at Eastern Washington?
Red.
Red artificial turf.
Yellow.
It is the gaudiest. No, that's Idaho. Idaho has yellow turf.
Oh.
But
are you serious? Did I get it right?
Red. Yeah, red. Yeah.
No kidding. That was a pure guess.
Yeah.
Boise
it is
State,
the ugly,
I knew.
Yeah, Boise State, because they've had pretty good teams and they've played some pretty big games there. But Eastern Washington has bright red artificial turf.
No,
it is the ugliest turf.
So you ask me a trivia question out of the blue, no preparation.
No, well, that's what.
And
that's
I answered. It's a two-part question. I answered both parts correctly, and you don't even acknowledge the fact that I got both of them right. You just blah 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 blah.
Yeah, I did. You got my admiration.
That all those people who thought you should be the next Alec Trebek were clearly wrong. You have no idea how to be a host of a game show. You've got to acknowledge when somebody gets it right.
And
I bet our producer is astounded that I knew those two things. Now, maybe he knew them. He's a sports junkie, so he may. No,
I guarantee you, he didn't know either.
Huey, did you know?
And by the way, I did get a letter back about hosting Jeopardy, and that apparently they weren't interested.
They weren't what?
Interested.
Really? Shocking.
Yeah, I know. I thought I would be pretty good.
No, you'd be horrible.
Well, yeah, actually, that's what my wife said. She says, you'd be so stupid doing it, you'd answer the question first. And you'd try to hit the buzzer yourself.
They'd have to put a little stand behind the dais there so you could see over the podium.
Now that is, that is hurtful. Just because you got the two-part trivia question that was so good,
that you didn't even acknowledge.
I said red. I acknowledge that you got it right.
Well, but you didn't congratulate me, or you didn't seem the least bit surprised. I think that's pretty good that I pulled those two out of my, you know what?
Keister.
Well, among other things. Oh, well, congratulations. Changing the subject. Can we change the subject? We weren't going to talk about the Super Bowl.
You're the host, you know?
Yeah, sometimes.
Look at it this way, Bob.
What?
Look at it this way. Today, I will not jump in and ask a last question today.
Well, that'll be a first. A belated congratulations to Felix Auger Aliassime, who actually won his first major tennis tournament. Well, not major, first professional tennis tournament on the weekend. Beating the Greek boy, Tsitsipas, in the final. And I was, while we were waiting for you, because John, of course, is notoriously late for the show, Hugh, the producer, and I were chatting, and Hugh was surprised that Auger Aliassime had not won.
I am too.
You didn't know?
I actually thought, they have different levels, the C circuit, the B circuit.
Yeah.
I thought he had won one of those lower men's tournaments.
First win.
Oh, good. Good for him. That's good.
Now, he's playing very well. And I actually watched a good chunk of that match. And
what time was that on?
I can't remember. What difference does it make? You're sleeping during the day and awake at night, and you're all over the place, and you're focused entirely on the Olympics.
That's not true. I watched a lot of the golf this weekend. I loved the golf.
Why weren't you working?
Well, because I actually have about 2 hours off.
Oh, well, then you didn't watch that much of the golf. In any event.
So anyway, to finish your story about Felix, come on, go ahead.
Well, Felix has played well the last while. Played well in Australia. Played well at the U.S. Open. And now wins this. And I would say, I don't know, I haven't seen the rankings and wouldn't bother me, but he is, I hate saying this because it's like the jinx, but he's got a chance to be a top 5 player in the world. And maybe even.
So you think he's better than Shapovalov?
I do. I think his game is better than Shapovalov's right now.
Right now, or can you?
Well, no, right now. I mean, a year ago, I probably would have still said Chapo, but
you would have,
because he's had more success.
Yeah.
But right now, I think Auger Aliassime's game is dangerous. I think that the players on the tour look at him and go, "Uh-oh, this guy can play." Strong serve. I mean, he's not the biggest server, but he's very strong. Top 10, 15% in the world, maybe.
He's so long, huh? That's why they're right?
Yeah. Now he'll put your feet to sleep waiting for him for his first serve. He is so slow. Oh my God. You could read War and Peace between, waiting for him to serve. And I hate that about him. But it seems to work for him. So, I'm not going to bitch and complain.
I think it's a tactic.
Do
you think it's a tactic?
No.
You just think that this is the way he's been coached and this is what he does. And
yep. And I think this is how he's comfortable. This is how he gets his head together. And look, it's obviously working. And they always say in an individual sport like golf or tennis, especially, that winning the first one's the toughest. And once you win the first one, you gain a level of confidence that takes a long time to dissipate. Doesn't mean it can't. If you don't win another one in an extended period of time, the memories of that first one and how you did it and how you felt would become irrelevant. But he's got a chance. He's got a chance to be Well, the best male player ever in this country. And I guess Raonic would be the best so far, right? Has Raonic retired,
yeah.
by the way?
Well, I was going to ask you, where is he?
Well, injuries have been the story with him,
Yeah.
as we all know.
Not a body. His body's just not conducive to the lower body, particularly those legs. It's just not conducive to being a tennis player, is he? Really,
Well,
honestly?
And I admire, what he did. He had, if it's over for him, he had a tremendous career.
Yeah.
And certainly put, he more than anybody else put Canada on the tennis map. But he didn't have the all-round game. He had that overwhelming serve, and that was his signature. His ground strokes were subpar.
Yeah.
No excuse. It's just the way it was. And what I like about Auger Aliassime is he has a well-rounded game. He can beat you in a whole bunch of different ways. His backhand isn't, I'm sure, as good as he would like it to be, but he's smart, plays the game smart, serves well. I like his game. In any event, congrats to him.
Before we pass on tennis,
yes.
Do you think the Shapovalov, I'm going to call them antics at the Australian Open, has hurt his perception, his public perception?
No, I think most people will have forgotten it.
You do, huh? Okay.
Yeah. It did in the moment.
Did it bother you?
Yeah. I don't think he was wrong.
No.
In bitching and complaining. So I wasn't overtly critical of why he was complaining, just that the sport generally tends to look down its nose on whiners and complainers. We did the same thing in the 70s with Connors, and then with McEnroe, and Nastase, and there were other guys. Yeah. That was the era of complaining, right?
Yeah, and the ones that elevated themselves. Look at, it was Bjorn Borg, never said a word.
Yeah.
And then after that, Roger Federer for the last 25 years hasn't said very much of anything of negative, has he?
Agassi was not a complainer. But there's another factor in here. So let me ask you this question. Are we ever going to see line judges in tennis again? And do we need them?
Tennis has done a better job of technology than any other sport.
Agreed.
Any other sport. The British system called Hawkeye has been remarkable. And I don't think there is, other than the tradition that we have seen, particularly at the French Open and Wimbledon and the majors, obviously not in Australia this year, but the older majors, I don't think there's a need for them. And I think in the end, it's going to be a huge advantage for the sport. I really do.
Well, and that speaks, I think, too, to the argumentativeness of the players. Can't argue with that machine.
Right.
And it's line calls as often as not that get players pissed off. And now you don't need line judges anymore. I thought I was really uncomfortable when I watched my first couple of tournaments without line judges. Now, who cares?
Yeah. The two things that they have done so well in tennis, Hawkeye obviously is the first thing. The second thing is they have allowed the technology to be seen in the stadium, so that the fan, when the player appeals, the fan can see the ruling at the exact same time. And that is remarkable. Yeah. So much of what we see in other sports, whether it be the NFL or it's the NHL or even the NBA that have video review, it's always cloak and dagger.
Yeah.
Put them under a hood. Put them under a hood.
They don't want to show it in case they get criticized.
Yeah. And it really has, in my mind, I think, made tennis that much more understandable for many people, and less, and the real belief, Bob, that there's no human error, that they trust the machine, they believe in the machine, and that works. When I was at the NHL in New York, we brought the Hawkeye people in to talk about creating a video review system for the puck on the line. They were brilliant.
The goal line, right?
The goal line, yeah. They were brilliant people, and they explained it, and they showed us what they could do. The problem is it's optical. And so, in other words, the cameras and the technology have to see the ball in the line at all times. Well, as soon as you put a glove or a body or a skate over top of the puck, you would not see the line. So it would not help you. It wouldn't work. But we had 5 or 6 companies come in to do this type of thing for the goal line. And I was more fascinated with the Hawkeye people. They were, the background of Hawkeye is it came out of British engineering companies that had worked with the RAF and worked with the British Army and British military and MI5 and all these people. And they took this technology and applied it to tennis. And it really was fascinating to watch. And the other thing, Bob, accepted within the sport. Lots of sports go to video review, and there's always a coach that's bitching and complaining, or somebody in management, or even the fans. But tennis has accepted it so well. Tennis has believed in it so much that now it's part of the game. It's part of a match. And that, to me, is almost as important as the actual technology itself, because there's nobody really complaining about technology in tennis. And isn't that a wonderful thing?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I would like to see, line judges eliminated. But you don't need them. You have the technology. You can show it to the people. The players seem to accept it. I don't see any reason for them to come back. And it'll be intriguing because, generally speaking, line judges are tennis players. And some of them are young tennis players. Mm-hmm. And that's a big thrill for them. And no, not
let me ask you this.
Not at a major tournament, but on a local level. And to eliminate that is not desirable. But
I don't think Wimbledon will ever eliminate them. Do you?
Well, the tournament that still makes you wear white.
Yeah. And everybody and all the ball boys and they have to wear the purple and green. Yeah.
I think you're probably, I think you're probably right. The British are very traditional when it comes to golf and tennis. Mm-hmm. And they are not inclined to change. And they almost need or require extraneous influence in order for them to change. I don't know if can you remember when the British Open, the golf championship, ended on Saturday?
Yes, absolutely. Sure.
Yeah, it ended on Saturday because, didn't play golf on Sunday.
So when you and I were children, black and white television, the British played with a different size golf ball.
I played with the British ball.
You did?
Yeah.
It was always the Dunlop ball, right? The Dunlop 500.
Well, I guess that was probably the most popular at the time, but I mean, there were all kinds of companies that made British size golf ball. It was slightly smaller than the ball the rest of the world used, specifically North America.
Yeah.
Used. And I hit it and I couldn't tell the difference.
Right.
I don't know whether it went farther, didn't go as far. I couldn't tell any difference. Yeah. And it was a little unusual. It was a little unusual when you put your club behind a British ball, because you got, and maybe it's because I knew, but you got the sense, boy, this is really a small golf ball. 5 minutes later, couldn't tell the difference. So anyway, we have a whole bunch of other stuff to discuss.
Well, if you would
Hopefully
just
you'll be a
keep
little
going.
less verbose and maybe keep us
Well,
on course a little bit better.
I was just worried about, I don't want you to talk too much. I'm worried about your voice.
Well, I'm hanging in.
Yeah,
I may
you
cough
sound-
again, but
you sound better today than you did yesterday.
yeah, we'll just wait. With John Shannon, Bob McCowan, we'll come back with more after these messages. So Mr. Shannon, we're back, by the way. Mr. Shannon spends his days these days working for the National Broadcast Corporation, better known as CBC.
I'm helping out.
Consuming our taxpayers' dollars. And now, what are you producing exactly?
I'm not a producer.
Well, what are you?
Yeah, are you ready?
Which is a question I've wanted to ask you for about 20 years. What the hell are you?
You ready for this title?
Oh, I don't need a title. Just tell me the job. What do you do?
I'm the managing editor of.
So you don't do a thing. You don't do anything.
No, I keep everybody.
I have worked with
lines.
managing editors for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Never did a damn thing. Nothing
I am
useful
in,
anyway.
I am in charge of making coffee. I get the snacks.
Well, that's pretty dangerous because there's great risk that they'll all be eaten by you between the store and wherever you're going.
Oh man! Oh man!
Am I lying?
Smokes.
Am I lying?
No, you might have a point there.
We've seen you nibbling. We've seen you nibbling on this show. When you're at home digging into what is it? Smarties, M&Ms, M&Ms.
Yeah. I have a bowl of M&Ms beside my desk. Yeah, I do.
You know,
I love
popping
M&Ms.
them like
don't
you're
you?
a drug addict. What?
We should get them as a sponsor. M&Ms. That'd be a
go
great
ahead.
sponsor.
I'd eat them
Of course you would.
just as well. They're not here.
But no, I'm just helping out the hockey production group with content ideas and philosophy and everything like that.
Could you get one of them to come on the air with me? Because I'd like to ask them whether they agree that you're helping them.
Well, they're lying right now, and then on Friday or Saturday when we're finished, they might tell you the truth.
Well,
they're tolerating me. They're tolerating me for 5 more days. Okay.
Now you had a reputation, and the public should know this.
No, this is not fair.
Well, but you had a reputation of being short-tempered.
I'm a hard ass. Yeah.
Well, are you behaving yourself more these days now that you have reached, a certain age?
I am.
Have you mellowed?
Oh, very much so, Bob.
So you haven't yelled at anybody?
Oh no, not one bit. Why would you yell? It doesn't help you.
Well, but you used to do that.
I would only yell if they hadn't heard me for the first 3 times. If on the 4th event that it doesn't occur the way it should occur, the volume might increase.
Well, my son, who used to work for you, as you know, told me that you scared the crap out of him when you yelled at him one time at Leafs TV. And probably wounded him for life. I want you to know.
Yeah. Okay.
He probably has not recovered and will never recover from that.
Yeah. So
in any event,
it'll be in the book. Don't worry.
Mine or yours?
Are you writing another book, or even worse, are you just telling Dave Naylor what to say?
No. I need,
because you didn't write. I mean, you say you wrote that book. You didn't write that book. Naylor wrote the book.
I talked the book.
Yeah, you talked the book. Exactly.
I talked, Naylor recorded it, and then he wrote it out. And then I looked at it and I said, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'd like to do that again. But I need a Dave Naylor.
Well,
I'm looking for somebody.
We've talked about who should write your book. We have. You've forgotten who should write your book.
Well, no, tell me.
Can I say the name on the air?
Well, I don't see why not. I mean,
okay. I think Friedman would do a great job of writing your book.
Well, I talked to him about it.
You have talked about it.
I've talked to Elliot about it.
Yeah. Elliot's a good writer, and he understands the business, and he would put it in terms that would make it entertaining. And
well, I don't.
You have some good stories. You should tell that. You should get him to finish it.
You recommended him to me, and I said that's a great idea. And I called him or texted him or whatever, and he said he had interest. And then I didn't hear from him again.
Oh, I'll phone him.
Well, gee, that'd be great. Like, because I couldn't phone him. But thank you, John.
Bob, you need all the help.
Can we move on to other things? For God's sake, you have hijacked this entire conversation and made it about nonsensical crap. We have to put some substance into this. Men's hockey, which you have some involvement in.
Yes, I do.
Apparently, you get coffee and M&Ms and don't yell at anybody. And your contribution is negligible, but nonetheless.
No, and tell you what, the contributions, the coffee, the candy, greatly appreciated.
Well, I'm sure that, and when they went looking for somebody to do those things, they said, well, let's get John Shannon and put him up in a swanky hotel in downtown Toronto for 20 days.
Yeah.
And pay all his expenses and then some exorbitant salary, rather than some schlep off the street who could use a few bucks. And you don't need a whole lot of talent to get coffee and M&Ms.
Well, you know what? Healy likes double doubles.
Oh, what a challenge for you then, huh?
I can remember the first. I can remember the first double.
It's the second double.
I'm having. That's right.
Now I should tell you this.
Okay.
You know what goes better than coffee with M&Ms?
Bailey's.
Chardonnay.
I
used to serve Chardonnay and Smarties.
Oh, okay.
And Smarties are more or less M&Ms. I mean, you know.
No.
More or less.
Come on.
Well, not the peanut M&Ms. You don't need the peanut M&Ms, do you?
Peanut M&Ms are the best.
No, I ate the regular M&Ms, which are basically Smarties.
That whole jar beside my apparatus at home is peanut M&Ms.
Try Chardonnay with your M&Ms.
Really?
Swear to God.
Okay.
Canada versus
any particular brand of Chardonnay that I should be trying?
Well, yes, of course, mine. Stony Ridge Estate Winery.
Hey,
Chardonnay.
Buy some time, man. Buy some time.
I just did. You're lucky I don't hold up a bottle. Wait a second. I actually have one.
Oh, what a shock.
Canada, Sweden in the semifinal for men's hockey.
No, quarterfinal.
Is it just the quarterfinal?
Yeah, tomorrow's the quarterfinal. Yeah.
Well, when's the semifinal? After the quarterfinal. Duh.
Friday, I think. Yeah, their days are all running together. I think Friday.
There's still 8 teams left in this thing?
Yeah. You ready? Okay. United States plays Slovakia. The Russian Olympic Committee plays, Denmark. And then it's Finland versus Switzerland, and then Canada, Sweden. Those are the 8 teams left. And on the men's side, women's done. Women's done. Women are ready to go, but we still have 8 men's teams because they needed to draw the tournament out.
Canada beat China 7-2 to get to this quarterfinal.
Yep. Yes, they did.
China is only in this tournament because they're the host.
I think that's probably fair to say. Yeah.
They're like the last ranked hockey playing nation in the world.
They're 32nd. Yeah.
Out of 32, essentially.
No, there's about 60, but that's okay. They're 32nd.
Really?
Yeah.
Who can China beat? Who is not as good as China?
Australia.
Australia is not as good as China?
No.
Well, they're busy.
But here's the thing they're surfing. Here's the thing about China. China's team predominantly, I think there's 12 North American kids, 10 Canadians, 2 Americans.
Yeah, I was going to say they're all Canadians.
Yeah, there's some great stories. I mean, of young guys who had pretty good careers in junior hockey, minor pro hockey, that have played the last 2 years in Beijing for the KHL team there. And part of the deal was if you stayed for 2 years,
Yeah, you get to play in
we
the
will
Olympics.
give you a Chinese. We will give you a Chinese passport, and then you can
Right.
play in the Olympics. So that's what's happened. Team's coached by a guy from Toronto, and
Well, see, there you go. Now, so it's Canada 1 versus Canada 2. But they only won 7-2, which, if the NHL players had gone,
15,
that game was 30-0.
Yeah, would have been but I'll tell you what, the Chinese gave the Germans a scare. Germans were the silver medalists 4 years ago.
Well, okay, but that was in the round robin, and I mean, I think you look past China, and I mean, I forgive the Germans for that. This is a game that Canada had to win.
Yes, and it was there was no doubt.
A little scary at the beginning, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what it did prove is that we finally found a goaltender for Canada. This Matt Tompkins out of Edmonton is.
Well, you shouldn't have needed a goaltender. You could. All you really should have needed was a wine barrel, just something to stick in the middle.
A Tudor shooter.
Well, you shouldn't have needed one. You shouldn't have. The Chinese shouldn't have got off more than 5 shots the whole game.
Yeah, listen, those 10 or 12 North American kids were pretty good.
Well, God bless them. Yeah.
And they're professional hockey players too. So, it's not as if that they're skating on their ankles and are trying to swing a hockey stick like a golf club. I mean, they're professional athletes, man. Come on.
But you like Canada over Sweden. Now, is this you just being?
I think it's I think it's. Am I being a homer a little bit? Yeah. But I think it's possible. I think, in fact,
possible. Possible is different. You said at the beginning of the show that you like Canada over Sweden.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think they will win. The Swedish team has been a bit of a disappointment, and there's a bit of controversy back in Sweden about how the team was picked after the NHLers weren't allowed to go. Because the fascination, Bob, is that the lack of NHL talent has affected almost every team in the tournament to get here.
Well, sure.
Not just Canada, not just the United States, but the Finns aren't as deep. Sweden's not as deep. Really, the only team in many ways that hasn't been affected that much,
Russia,
is the Russians. There would have been Alex Ovechkin play.
Oh yeah, there would. There would have been more than a few.
And Kucherov, if he was healthy, because you never know with Tampa's salary cap, they might have to keep him on LTIR until the Stanley Cup final. But really the least affected team in all of this was the Russians, who can't be called the Russians, so I should watch myself. They're called the.
You can call them whatever you want on this show. Yeah. We are not subject to any IOC or.
Well, no, I don't want to get a lawsuit from the IOC, so I don't. They're a vigilant group. But the others.
Wait a second. The athletes who represent the ROC?
Russian Olympic Committee. Yeah.
Yeah. Where do they live?
Last I checked, they live in Russia.
What are they? Who are they? Of what country are they citizens?
I think they're citizens of Russia.
And so therefore they are Russians.
Yeah.
And that's what I said.
Wow.
Period. End of story.
That's amazing.
I didn't lie.
No.
Bring on the lawsuit.
So this bring it on. This is since 1992, they have had, I think the countries or the athletes, I think by my count, have had 5 different names to play in the Olympics. No, actually 88. Because in 1988, they were the last team to have CCCP on their sweaters.
Yeah, that's right.
The Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Then we went to the unified team. Then they went to be called Russia. And then we've had the last 2 years, the last 2 games, they've been the Olympic athletes of Russia. And that wasn't punishment enough. And now they're called the Russian Olympic Committee.
So how long are they going to be encumbered by all these goofy names? When are they just going to let them be Russia? Either that or kick them out. It is a stupid IOC.
Well, but this,
bunch of babies.
This is part and parcel, Bob, of we discussed it one day this week about the little Russian figure skater, right? So she's actually going to be allowed to compete. In fact, did compete this morning.
Yeah.
But they will not. They
won't give her the medal if she wins one.
Get what if she wins. And so what? No, they won't have a ceremony at all. So
that's what I mean.
The other two people on the podium won't get to celebrate either. I mean, it's
the IOC.
Ridiculous. I know.
They're a bunch of dimwits.
What they're going to do is
if you go to the Olympic Games and you see somebody walking around with a mirror in their hand, looking at themselves, it's an IOC member, because that's all they care about is themselves, and they're a bunch of power hungry nitwits.
Yeah. So you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I'm not. I know I'm not wrong.
Well, I mean. And you're still mad that when you went to figure skating that night out at the Pacific Coliseum in Vancouver, that you had to go through the big security lines and the IOC guys could just go in the back door.
Yeah, but we got them back. We crashed one of their parties.
Now, have you told anybody that story recently? It's one of the great stories of all time, really. I tell it all the time. I tell it all the time. Oh yeah, because it's fun. When you think about it, there you are, Bob Account, sitting there having lunch.
We're in Vancouver. John and I are in Vancouver, and we're doing the radio show, and there's police from like every 5 feet. There's a policeman in uniform from somewhere, from sea to shining sea. There were police officers from the north, the east, the middle of the country, everywhere.
They did a better job. They did a better job with the police in Vancouver at the Olympics than they did in Ottawa and at the Ambassador Bridge. So,
excuse me, but no shit, Sherlock. I mean, now it was actually very nice because we would walk to our location, usually separately, but occasionally together. And
your limo would go by
every 5 feet. Hi, Bob. Hi, how are you? How are you? How are you? It was all police officers.
Yeah.
They couldn't have been nicer.
That female officer from Ottawa really liked you. She did. She really liked you.
Yeah. Did you get her phone number?
Do I have to get phone numbers for you now?
Well, what else are you there for?
I gave you Friedman's phone number.
If you're going to be a wingman, if you're going to be a wingman, look after the center.
Oh my God.
So police officers everywhere, security airtight. You can't get anywhere at the Olympics if you're not supposed to be there. And even when you're supposed to be there, you got to show them everything except your firstborn male child.
That's right.
I had at least 5 badges around my neck at all times.
You looked official Olympic. What you did, you looked official Olympic. Plus your jacket, your consortium jacket.
Yeah. So Shannon announces one day.
Day before the game start.
Was it the day before?
Yeah.
That's right. It was.
Yeah.
He says, come with me. We're going to a party. And I said, what party are we going to? I said, I didn't get an invite to the party. He said, neither did I. So finish the story.
So we walked from our hotel down to Molson Hockey House that our buddy Pat McElhaney built. And there's a giant group of people there, 50 to 60 people that are meeting, and it's the National Hockey League brass. Bill Daly's there. It's the International Ice Hockey Federation brass. Rene Fissel's there. All their corporate partners, and they're sitting down at tables in Molson Hockey House to have a special lunch because it's Rene Fissel's birthday, and they have a special guest incoming, 10 security guards, Jacques Roga, who is the president of the IOC.
Yeah.
So I said, come on, we're going for lunch. He said, Bob says, we can't go in there. He says, come on, we're going in. There we do. We walk right in. We shake hands. We kiss babies. We sit at a table at the back. They serve us turtle soup. And we got a gift. Remember the gift we got? Yeah. We got the cookbook.
Yeah.
We were treated like just a member of the IIHF delegation for the whole afternoon. And everybody came by and said hello. And it was a glorious way to start the Olympics, wasn't it?
It was really quite unbelievable, to tell you the honest to goodness truth. I'm not inclined to do that kind of thing, and you drag me sort of kicking and screaming.
And I knew the instant we did it, within about 4 days, you would be regaling people on the air the story about how you had lunch with Jacques Rogan.
Well, we did.
Yes, I know. That's one of my favorite stories. I've told it twice this week.
Well, and we said hello to everybody, and
Sure.
We just acted like we were supposed to be there, and even people that knew us didn't seem to be surprised that we were there.
No. One of my favorite people was at the,
Like there was no media there, right?
No. It was a private party.
Private party. Like this is not open. No other media there. Nobody.
One of my favorite people in the world was sitting at a table about 2 away from us. His name is Sho Tabita. He is the president of the Japanese Ice Hockey Federation. And he walks in and he sees me and he says, "Hey, hi, John. How are you doing? Good to see you." And life goes on. It was
Pretend
fantastic.
you belong.
Pretend you belong. I got taught that by a newsman at CFRB when I started. A guy named Eric Thorson, who used to do the 11 o'clock news every
Eric
night
Thorson,
in Toronto.
yeah.
And his nickname for us was Papa Thorson. And he would turn to me, he says, "John, whatever you do, wherever you go, if you're a reporter, just wear a nice blazer, pair of gray slacks, and walk like a cop, and they won't stop you."
All right, we had a whole bunch of other stuff to talk about.
Well, let's go. Let's go.
We're running out of time.
No.
Well, quickly, Canada-US women.
Yes.
Any chance Canada loses this? They shouldn't.
Yes. There's a chance. There's a chance. The American veteran players, Hillary Knight's really good. I think to me, the biggest question on the Canadian team for the women is, her name is Anne-Renee Desbiens. She's the goaltender. She actually quit the program in 2018 after the last Olympics, went back to school, became an accountant, and then about 18 months later said, "You know what, I missed the game. I want to play in the game." She's rekindled her career, won the World Championships in August in Calgary. Is whether she can make a difference in the gold medal game. I think offensively we're a better team. We're a deeper team. The question is will the Americans give her enough fits to cause a problem for Canadian goaltending? That's the only thing I think that's a problem for the women in the gold medal game.
Here's an impossible question to answer, I suppose, but could this be the best Canadian women's team ever?
We've had this discussion because Cheryl Pounder, who's working with us, was on the 2006 team in Torino, and that has always been viewed as the best Canadian team of all time. She obviously was on it. She's got the gold medal from it. And so she says, yes, that's the better team. But I'll tell you what, Bob, this team is deep. There are young players on this young Claire Thompson, the defenseman, Sarah Fillier, who's from Georgetown. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. They have created a new dimension of 4 lines. And the difference in the end might be Shannon Zabados was the goalie no, it wasn't Shannon Zabados. It was Shannon came in 2010 is the difference in goaltending. But if Canada wins the gold medal, I think the debate will be really, really valid that this is the deepest and best team in the history of Canadian women's hockey.
Well, and the answer probably won't come for a few years down the road, because that's usually how this works. You got to accomplish something over some period of time, and this team has really just reemerged as being better than the U.S. now.
I do have some concerns about women's hockey because the rest of the world is improving.
Yes,
Switzerland's getting better, Finland's getting better, Sweden's getting better, but Canada, the United States are growing and improving exponentially, Bob.
Yeah.
Exponentially.
You're not wrong.
And Rosie D'Amato, who has twice in 10 years written the same article that women's hockey shouldn't be in the Olympics. There's a little bit of truth to the fact that there really are only 2 women's teams in the tournament, and it's really I mean, I love women's hockey, and it's been fun to be a part of in 4 or 5 Olympics. But I'll tell you what, I'm always concerned that the other teams aren't good enough, and it's that issue's. I don't know what's going to happen for that issue not to be discussed at some point on an international level.
Well, perhaps we will discuss it, but we won't do it today because we have no more time. We got to take a break, and we'll come back and wrap it up after these messages. We're back to Rapid. This is usually where I thank the guest, but we didn't have one. So
You're welcome.
okay, thank you, John,
No, Bob, thank you.
for putting this show on your back and carrying it all the way to the finish line. Last place, mind you, but you did carry it there.
Well, I
Couple
might be
of quick
ahead of
things.
I might be ahead of the Chinese hockey team. Then that's okay.
What's happened to Canadian curling?
Oh,
We used to
great question.
We used to dominate like
Yeah.
crazy, and now we can't beat anybody.
We have exported our talent with coaching.
Well,
You know, Edmonton is the curling capital of the world, with all the teams that get coached by Edmontonians and actually train in Edmonton over the winter time.
yeah.
I mean, look at John Morris. He lost to the Australians. Guess who coached and was the consultant to Australian tennis? John. He was. So
Well, but that was
know,
in the mixed thing, right? Which
yeah, but it doesn't matter.
it should
I mean,
be canceled anyway. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
No, we're gonna NBC is gonna
Enough.
demand more mixed curling like that and more more unibob.
No, there's going to be. I told you yesterday. The next thing is no bob. You push the machine. You push the sled down the run. Nobody gets in.
Remote controlled bobsled.
Jack Eichel will make his debut for the Vegas Golden Knights against Colorado tomorrow night.
Yeah. And well, here's the other thing: is they had to put Mark Stone on long-term injury reserve to make it happen, and so that's at least 7 days. I mean, Kelly McCrimmon and our buddy George, still have an issue about long-term. What are they going to have to do for Eichel and Stone to be on the ice at the same time because of their salary cap issues?
Yeah. Congrats to Marner, who got his 400th career point. Is playing great. Raptors got slaughtered in New Orleans, and that's about it. We'll see if we can scrounge up a guest tomorrow.
No, we have a guest tomorrow.
Would you like to tell
Mr.
him?
John Paul Morosi.
There you go.
Talk baseball tomorrow because spring training pitchers and catchers reported. Oh no, they didn't.
No, they don't, and we don't know when.
Yeah.
In fact, we don't know even if. But we'll address all that tomorrow. Until then.